So what I want to do is I want to show you this quick demonstration in generating Windows form controls during runtime. All of this stuff you see on the window was in design time. I put it all in the design view. But when I click the mystery button, suddenly a label appears. That label did not exist until I clicked the button. Now, see if you can catch the reference. And I might have words wrong if you know the reference. If I click this, watch what happens. It changes. Okay, so I have a new message. If I click it again, it changes again. And then as long as I keep clicking it, it will just cycle through 3 different messages. Okay, so let me show you how I did it. Okay, so there's the design time, and let's take a look at the code. So anything you do in design, actually let me back up a step. I want to go back to design mode first just to show you something. One of the things you want to do if you're going to design something in runtime, one of the resources you have available is the toolbox for seeing what kinds of objects or form controls that you have. The other thing is properties. So let me click a button, and I'm going to click on properties. And when I click on properties, I have a list of all the properties that are available to a button. And so they include things like accessible description, allow drop, anchor, auto size, back color, cursor, dock. So any of these things that you see here, you can code them in runtime. And again, runtime is when the program's actually running. So what you do to do this is a couple of things. Number one, I wanted to have a variable that would count how many times. Hold on. Sorry about that. Okay, so I want to have this thing that's going to count how many times I click the label. And remember, it's going to be a mystery label, so I just put a little abbreviation, MYS for mystery, click count, just abbreviate it. Now, if I want to have a variable available to any of my forms, any of my click handlers, I have to set it in the class. So it's kind of like when we did the game design where you set some stuff in the class. This is setting it in the class. This is a field that is private, but it's accessible to anything inside of the class. Okay? Now, the next thing I did is I created a label in the class also. Okay, so notice I had to create a label, and this is how you create a new label. This is just an object, right? A label is an object, and it's an object of the label type. So we just put label, and I name it what I want to, so I call it mystery label, and I put equals new label. So this generates a label. Now this happens when you run the program. But since I didn't set anything on the label, it's just invisible, and we don't see it. Okay? All right. So anyway, so this creates the label, but it doesn't do anything. Okay, so what I did is, let me go back just to remind you, it's when I click the mystery button that it creates the label, basically. So let's take a look at that. So it's the mystery button click. So this is my event handler for when I click the mystery button. The first thing you can do is you can set your various label properties. So we can set its location, the height of it, the width of it. This should be in pixels. Okay, width, height, and width. Although I think it's actually not pixels. The way I look at it, it doesn't look like it, but I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to look up I'd have to go look at a reference material and find it. Either way, you can just play with the numbers to get it to work right. And then I set the text. When I set the text and I set the font, now I could leave the font out of it and it would just be whatever the system font is. But I wanted to show you you can change it. So the other thing I just learned last class, because I wanted to just see if I could do a new property, is I set the border style. So one of the things you are going to have to do is, if you want to do something, and I haven't gone over it. So let's say we go back to the property of a label. Let's take a look at our label properties. Go back to Form 1. I'm going to click a label, then I'll click Properties. Let's say I want to learn how to do something like dock. I'm not even sure what dock does. But if I look at it, it looks like, oh, it's like where do you position or dock it. Let's look at something else. There's a thing called flat styled or flat style. So you have a flat pop-up standard system. So I think that might allow it to do like a pop-up window or something. Not entirely sure. If maybe I want to set an image or I want to set the color or something like that, I can do that. Let's do that with back color. So I do back color. I can do like one of the system colors. I can do a custom color here, whatever. Okay. So let's say I want to change the back color. I'd go, now I would have to look it up online probably if it doesn't work. Let's just see if I can do the back color on it. So I'm going to write out mystery label dot, and it's back color. Back color equals, and I think it's going to be a new color, yeah. And then on here, color dot color. Doesn't like that. Well, maybe that's it. Back color equals color.bis. We're going to try it anyway. This won't show until we run it, but let's just test it out and see if that works. So anyways, we're setting the properties, and a lot of this is you're just going to have to go online and find out how to set it. Hey, it worked. Thank you. That was Tommaso who saw it. I'm sure Solid Brush will work, but I'm just not sure how to implement it here. Now, moving along, guys. Next step. Once you set any properties you like, guys. Hold on. Next step, once you've set all the properties, we want to add it to the set of controls. This represents the actual form that we're looking at, and then it has a set of controls, and we can add controls, we can remove controls. So there's a dot add and there's a dot remove. So watch this. Let's see if I can remove, and I'm not even sure if I can get this to work. And let's see if I can remove the mystery button. Okay, but either way, you can add and remove items, and then mystery label, click, we need to add an event handler. So what we're saying is we're going to take the click, and we're going to add this event handler, calling it mystery label click. And on mystery label click, I can do my code. Now, as a demonstration, okay, so here's the click handler, and you just type it out, and you can look at any other click handler as a reference for how to do it. And so what I'm doing is I'm accessing that field, which is the mystery click count, and I add 1 to it. So when I click the label, I'm going to add 1. So then I'm going to check to see. Now, what I did is I set this up to toggle between 3 different messages. And so I realized the best way to do that is modulus. So I can take the click count, divide it by 3, and if the remainder is 1, in which case, and by the way, the first time we click it, we add 1 to 0, it becomes 1. The remainder will be 1. So on the first click, it will take the second message. And then when we click again, we add another 1 to it. So it's 3 divided by 2. The remainder is 2, in which case then it produces this message. And then if the mystery click count divided by 3 is equal to anything else, in which case it's actually 0, but I don't have to put if, I can just put else, then we do mystery label.text and we do the last message. This is actually the first message we got. And because we're dividing it by 3, taking the remainder, it'll just cycle through. And when it's 1, it'll be 1. When the count is 2, it'll be 2. When the count is 3, modulus 3 produces 0, and then it goes to the else statement. We add 1, it becomes 4. 3 divided by 4 has a remainder of 1. Or I'm sorry, 4 divided by 3 has a remainder of 1, etc. And we just keep cycling through, so it's just going to forever toggle between these 3. So let's run it one more time and just make sure everything's working okay. Mystery. Do you see what happened? The button's gone now. I don't have the button. But I can now click through my label. Okay? If I want to position the label a little bit higher, I'll just do that up on this one here where it's mystery label.location.